John Caldera, honorably discharged U.S. Navy Corpsman, the only openly gay member of the San Francisco Veterans Affairs Administration. Commander of the Bob Basker Post 315 of the American Legion, the only post within the American Legion named after an openly gay World War II combat veteran. John.
Thank you, Tommy, and thank you to each and every one of you for joining us as we let San Francisco Pride know we are mad as hell and we're not going to take this anymore. Yesterday, at an emergency meeting of the Bob Basker Post of the American Legion, our officers and members came together to talk about this controversy, and we unanimously voted to demand the resignation of Lisa Williams for the president of San Francisco Pride. In a statement written by Williams on April 26, she claims that Bradley Manning's nomination was a mistake and should have never been allowed to happen. By taking this action, Ms. Williams has negated and belittled all the voices of our community leaders and local celebrities who have taken this action. This action has occurred for years and years and years, and this is the first time this evil precedent has ever been set where a nomination has been revoked by the leadership of Pride. Furthermore, and I want to read the same quote that Dan did. Ms. Williams stated, "Even the hint of support for actions placing in harm's way the lives of our men and women in uniforms and countless other military and civilian of light will not be tolerated by the leadership of San Francisco Pride. It will be an insult to everyone gay and straight who has ever served the military of this country." Well, if you look at the sponsors of San Francisco's Pride webpage, you will see Wells Fargo and Bank of America, two of America's largest loan mortgagers, and within the last 2 years, each one has foreclosed on over 200 veterans and their families. That is doing harm's way, Ms. Williams. Also, AT&T, a proud sponsor of Pride, has been accused and found by the FCC for overcharging customers and switching them to plans that they did not need, as well as billing design services for the deaf and hard of hearing. Shame on AT&T, shame on Pride. If you look at their sponsors, you will see Clear Channel. Clear Channel brings you the voice of Rush Limbaugh. Shame on Pride, shame on Ms. Williams. We call for her resignation. Bradley Manning may not represent the ideal of a Grand Marshal for everyone, but he is a symbol for many for the continuing struggle for human rights, doing the right thing, and telling the truth. The San Francisco queer community has the right to be heard and honor who we choose. The San Francisco Pride Committee needs to be people first and corporations second. Ms. Williams! People without profit! Currently, the city of New York has a petition to make Bradley Manning their Grand Marshal in the upcoming Pride Parade. If you are to Google Bradley Manning plus San Francisco Pride, you will find over 1.5 million hits, which have brought shame to the city of San Francisco, Ms. Williams, and shame to the LGBT community. Shame, shame, shame! 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 I would like to end by simply stating this call for resignation is not a personal attack, but rather an appropriate response to the disappointing and discrediting actions of the president of San Francisco Pride against our community. Bradley Manning needs to be reinstated as San Francisco Honorary Grand Marshal, and Ms. Williams needs to step down as San Francisco Pride President. Thank you very much for joining us.
Here for John Caldera. And now Now, to prove that not everybody who's involved with the Pride Board is bad, we have Joey Cain, who's a former SF Pride Committee board member. He was board president for 4 years. He's a former Grand Marshal. He's part of the Electoral College of Grand Marshals who nominated Bradley Manning. So let's hear it for Joey Cain.
Really, it's really weird. When I nominated Bradley, there's been this stuff about, oh, what has Bradley done for the gay community? What has he done for the gay community? And the reason I nominated him is because I feel he was a little gay boy that looked like me when I was young. He's a little gay boy who made a bad decision. He joined the military like lots of young gay kids do, lots of young straight kids do, and he just made a mistake. And I felt the action that he took releasing those documents, and he put himself in harm's way. Do you think they would have given the same punishment, that torturous punishment, to a straight guy? I think that he has been discriminated against in the treatment he received because he was gay. There may be, maybe Don't Ask, Don't Tell has been repealed, but there is still rampant homophobia in the U.S. Armed Services. Let's not kid ourselves. I also want to address the people that have made the comment that Bradley Manning hasn't done anything for the gay community. Well, I got news for you. The gay community is part of the larger human community. And what Bradley Manning did was something that was heroic. He is a hero to me. And what he did was heroic. It helped the larger humanity, which we are part of. And if Pride is going to say you have to do this narrow thing that's specifically gay focused, we're going to end up with no one to be Grand Marshal, because once we all have our liberation as gay people, what about everybody else? Gay people are part of the larger world. Bradley made the larger world a better place. I also want to just say, I'm not calling for Lisa's resignation. I'm calling for Lisa to realize they made a mistake and do the right thing and reinstate Bradley as a Grand Marshal. I have here a letter from signed by myself and 3 other former Pride presidents calling for the Pride Committee to do just that. The Pride Committee, I pride myself of being on the Pride Committee. We made sure, we believed in radical inclusivity, and that meant that we had the strength and the vision to embrace all of the diversity of the community, the colors, the genders, and the opinions. And I feel that is what San Francisco Pride shows to the world. We don't all agree with each other. We never will, but we're sure not going to throw any part of the community under the bus. So I ask Lisa and the other board members to please realize you really made a mistake. Just apologize and reinstate Bradley. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey Cain. And now we have Rani Wrightman, a founder and steering committee member of the Bradley Manning Support Network. She's queer, feminist writer, and digital freedom advocate. Co-founder of the Freedom of the Press Foundation, a nonprofit organization that crowdsources funding to supporting unique, independent, nonprofit, journalistic institutions. We need more of those. Rani. And now let's hear for Rani.
Hey guys, so I'm Rani Wrightman, and I helped to found, along with Daniel Ellsberg and a lot of other people here, the Bradley Manning Support Network. We are a non-profit organization that is responsible, among other things, for getting the word out about Bradley Manning, but also for paying 100% of his legal fees. And I'm incredibly thankful, because when we got started, we were just 15 people who didn't know each other. And today we have members all over the world, and we have raised over $1 million for his support. So thank you guys. As a queer woman, I felt a lot of kinship to Bradley. And I went and I saw him at his one of his pretrial hearings, and I saw David Coombs, his attorney, bring up Bradley Manning's roommate. and put him on the stand. This guy got assigned to Brad because there were no other rooms left. Bradley was the last room available, and this guy got stuck with him. And while he was on the stand, David Coombs, Brad's attorney, said, "So did you and Brad really talk?" And he said, "Well, we did at first, but after a while we stopped talking." And he said, "Why?" And he said, "Well, I don't know." And he said, "Was it because he was gay? Did you tell Brad that you didn't want to talk to him anymore at all, except to maybe say turn off the lights because you believed him to be gay?" And he was like, "Okay, yeah, it's true. I didn't want to talk to him because he was gay." Brad never had anybody to sit with when he went to lunch. He just hung out with people on the internet because through the internet he was able to find a community of people who understood him, of people who actually understood what it was like to be struggling with his identity. And God knows I didn't go through the same things he went through, but growing up in high school in Virginia, man, I turned to the internet and looked for people who understood what I was doing. And I think a lot of people here also understand what it's like to struggle with your identity. So a lot of us who are active in queer outreach and advocacy, we've written a letter talking about some of the inaccuracies in Lisa Williams' speeches and an open letter. And I wanted to read part of that letter. Dan Choi is one of the other signers, and I just heard from Susie Bright, and I'm very glad to say that she's going to be signing as well. She said, "There's a million things I could say at a time like this, but one thing that was very poignant to me is that being a Grand Marshal," because she was a Grand Marshal, "is not about a popularity contest. It's a historical recognition. Sure, there are always a few famous people and politicians, but most of the dozen or so marshals each year are just great people who've made a difference in all kinds of ways, usually controversial ways. So what if not everyone agrees with Bradley Manning's politics? Can you name anyone on a float who gives that kind of perfect agreement? No one. I'm a perfect example of someone who's not middle of the road, but was really touched to be honored by that title, and I knew it was based on something real. What Bradley did was something real, something we can all support. On our open letter, which we're going to be collecting signatures from a bunch of the different advocates out there, and then hopefully getting published, we correct some of the inaccuracies. Among them, a lot of people don't realize that Bradley Manning was a queer advocate. He was out there marching against Don't Ask, Don't Tell in the DC Pride Parade. He spoke to reporters about what it was like to be a soldier and why Don't Ask, Don't Tell had to be abolished. He attended fundraisers for Gavin Newsom and the Stonewall Democrats, and he discussed what it was like to face homophobia in the military. We LGBTQ activists fought hard for years to win the right to live free from the fear that we could be targeted with violence deemed acceptable to society at large, simply for being who we are. We members of this community would like to stand in solidarity with others around the world who still live in fear of violence and oppression, simply for being born into a particular group. There's a lot of things people can do to get involved with the Bradley Manning Support Network. I've got two big things that I'm asking people here specifically to do. One, march with us in the parade. March with us in the parade. We may not be the Grand Marshal for the whole parade, at least not yet, but by God, he's our Grand Marshal. We're going to march for him. And second of all, we're having a flash mob. It's going to be on June 1st, and it's going to coincide with the court-martial of Bradley Manning. Now, a lot of people are not, dance-oriented, and that's fine, but most of us are. So come out. It's a easy dance. We meet on Monday nights, and if anybody wants it, anybody with these flyers can give you info, and we can show you the dance, and then we're going to dance in protest of Bradley's incarceration. Please learn more by visiting bradleymanning.org. As always, we are the only thing standing between Bradley Manning's family having to mortgage their home to pay for his legal defense and him being able to get it all because the community reached out to support him. Let's show him that we support him. Sign up for our newsletter. Please follow us on Twitter, Facebook. Please consider a donation. It makes all the difference. Thank you, guys.